Belatedly, good afternoon. Calling to order the Safety Committee meeting. Can we have the safety announcement?
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Thank you. Before we go to public comment, I just want to acknowledge that the important news we just did a press conference on, which is, as the NYPD Chief Kemper announced, the 3 individuals who are identified as suspects in the shooting on the D train on Friday have been apprehended and are in custody. That's awful good news. And I also just want to, in addition to extending, as always, our tremendous appreciation of the NYPD for their amazing work, also to acknowledge, as Chief Kemper said, the availability of video from the beginning to the end, not just inside the car, which is an effort that we have inaugurated with tremendous support from Governor Hochul, but the cameras on the platform, the cameras upstairs, and even cameras at street level gave the investigators an incredible source of information to use in their investigation. It has led to a very rapid series of apprehensions. So that's a little bit the cause of why we're starting late, but it's an important piece of information. So with that, let me turn it over to Chris Diodato for public speakers.
Thank you, Chair Lieber, and good afternoon. We have 6 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. Also, in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker is Jason Anthony, who will be followed by Christopher Greif.
Good afternoon, General, Pat, the chiefs, and the rest of the safety committee. Jason Anthony here, the newest member of the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. Let's talk about safety, shall we? Yes, we have been seeing a spike in crimes in the subway. I want to acknowledge the great job that Chief Kemper has been doing. Yes, I've been seeing increase of NYPD presence, not only in mezzanine area, in the fare control area, but also on platforms, but also inside trains. Some conductors are also reminding riders that our police presence not only aboard trains but in station platforms. Chief Mueller, thank you for having MTA police presence at Penn Station in Grand Central and also Atlanta Terminal Brooklyn. That is my home station. But also, I want to bring up incidents that during weekends, when I take the S40 to my job in the West Shore of Staten Island, there's no Eagle team present at St. George Terminal where people get pushed, drivers don't open the rear door, and people get pushed and hurt. So, and the safety committee, we want it monthly, not every 3 months. So I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif. Again, I do want to thank our chiefs because, yes, NYPDs are always on the platform. If they see something, we say something. We need to always remember that they're there, and we always need to say thank you to them, and please be safe, because I don't like to see any officer getting hurt, and I think we all agree on that. Because safety to us, as a person with a disability, we want to get on the train, get off the train, get on the bus, or get on or off the bus for safety. And we want to continue that. We also always want to make sure that everything we do for a person with a disability entering a gate who pays the fare, but we love the way how an officer does come not far behind and catches them. And this happened at Atlantic Barclay. I want to thank them because catching them means, what do you think you're doing? You didn't pay your fare. Show courtesy to an elderly or a person with a disability. We need to continue seeing that. And I'm really glad to see the guards around J Street Metro Tech, but we definitely need to see them in the Coney Island, Kings Highway, on the B&Q, and continuing more efforts. We know the local precincts are there sometimes, but when school is leaving out, a lot of the kids are sneaking in, and then the adults are learning that. And the kids seeing that too, and they're going like, how come the adults can do that? We need to show an example and more education in the future for students to remind them that you have a student Metro card to please pay the fare, and let's follow safety tips. The yellow lines are there for a reason. You must stay behind the yellow line at all times, because when a person is waiting for a train at the middle of the platform, they need to remember that that's why there's space around them. There are some stations, I understand, they're small, but safety needs to come in. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charlton D'Souza, followed by Maddie B. Highland.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So again, we need judges to arrest repeat criminal offenders. I'm going to keep saying this, and ban them from the subway system. All the security cameras do is help investigations after a tragic incident has already happened. And we keep hearing about the 1,000 officers being deployed in the subway system. We've heard this over and over again every time major incidents happen. Only a few months later, for the police resources to be pulled back, and we hear excuses about funding, there's not enough money. So we need accountability from our elected officials. We need them to commit to permanent funding of police officers in the subway system. And I would even say metal detectors as well. But we also need to protect the transit employees, making sure the doors are locked. I will say the MTA police chief, you're doing an excellent job as best as you can with the resources you have, and we appreciate the job that you do. But again, where are the SOS teams? Because I don't see them overnight, and we have homeless individuals who are using drugs. They're lying at the ends of platforms like they're ready to jump and commit suicide. There's no help for them, Mr. Chairman. And so I would call on all of you to ride the subway with me. And like I said, we're going to be protesting outside elected officials' offices starting tomorrow. You'll see it. We'll be out there. That's all I got to say, because what happens a few months later if another transit employee or a passenger is killed or assaulted? Then what's the plan? So we all need to work together on this. I know that you guys don't like it when I come up here on the microphone and start screaming and saying things, but we've been through this for the last 4 years. I've been at this microphone. Nothing is getting done. It seems like the situation is getting worse and worse. So I don't know, guys. We just got to work together and figure out something. But thank you to all of you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maddie B. Highland, followed by Ian Matthews.
For the record, it's Maddie Bucky's Highland, Maddie W. Bucky's Highland. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and to the commissioners. Today's topic is safety. I would like to echo what Charlton D'Souza said about safety. We need to have more cops on our subways. Nothing's being done about it. My grandfather said they should be armed guards on the subway, which I think it's a little. We need to let them know that to repeat offenders that this will not be tolerated and it will never be tolerated again. For example, we can't have rogue prosecutors backed by Hungarian billionaire George Soros to say, get out of jail card like that. This is not the Jerry Springer show, like I mentioned before at transit. People need to be safe. It's important to please stand behind the yellow line and watch the gap when boarding the train. That's always a priority for these for the public to understand, because even though a juvenile could do same case and then just let go free, that has not have to be tolerated at all. I went to school in Florida for criminal justice, as you can see in the background, and I can tell you there are much more stricter laws down there than New York. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ian Matthews, followed by Andy Pollock.
Hi there. My name is Ian Matthews. I'm here to speak about the crime on the subway, which is kind of out of control. And I've been down 22nd, 23rd Streets, and it's a very troubled station with crime in the past. And it should be patrolled very often. And recently, last week, I witnessed a train conductor on the D get harassed by a passenger who was told to leave the train.
Mr. Chairman, and
Mark North 110 3, and like I've seen at 34 of Herald Square, like they should be at Bedford Park Boulevard, Fordham Road on the B&D, where I've seen a lot of fare invasions. I'd like the subway to be safe, as I've been a little scared to ride it. And I thank the NYPD for making a quick arrest in this, as it makes me feel much better. And I thank you for making our subway safer. But let's make it very safe for all our transit workers, for my friend, and for all riders.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Andy Pollock.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. Andy Pollock for the record, Passengers United. So before we get to the crime, I want to mention a point of personal privilege for the Fresh Meadows community. During the snowstorm that occurred back on February 13th, the Q46 bus stop at Union Turnpike and Chevy Chase Street in Fresh Meadows was properly not shoveled. And the snow was still there last week, and I had to literally step on the snow to get back onto the sidewalk. So next time we have a significant snowstorm, we need better communication on shoveling all the other bus stops, because I also want to mention down at Cunningham Park, there was another bus stop that wasn't shoveled out. So just want to bring that up. Now on to the crime. It's been a mess. I mean, we have 3 homicides confirmed this calendar year alone. MTA workers are getting assaulted. We had a subway performer assaulted at the Herald Square station a couple weeks ago, and he's never going to perform again. He openly said that on Channel 4. He's scared to perform down in the system again after what happened to him with the glass bottle. And I want to mention, and it has not been mentioned by anyone today, there was a subway surfing incident on the 7 line back on February 9th. So the subway system is in chaos. And I agree with what our president, Charlton de Souza, has been saying at Passengers United. We need the National Guard down here, because we need armed guards patrolling the system, because we have people that come onto the system with knives and guns. And how am I supposed to feel safe riding the system? So we need improvement right now. And I'm calling on every elected official in Albany to repeal the bail reform, because we have repeat offenders to come back into the system. So that's where I'm going to conclude my remarks. I see my time is about to expire. So thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you. Chair Lieber, Chief Warren, that concludes today's public speaking portion of the committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to public speakers. We have a set of minutes that are up for November 29th, are up for approval. Are there any comments or corrections, Mr. Albert?
Yes, on page 5, around the middle of it, it says the chair also asked. That word is twice. And then MTA property comparted to the rest of the country when it should say compared.
Okay, with those typo corrections, are there any other comments? Can I get a motion to approve them? Thank you, Hayda. Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for a second. Seeing no opposition, the minutes are approved. Mr. Colonel Warren, would you present the work plan?
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, board members and Chair. Thanks for being here today. As this is our first Safety and Security Committee meeting this year, we've included the new work plan for 2024 on page 9 of the committee book. Work plans contain the routine business of the year. And Chair, I ask that the committee's approval of this plan.
Okay. The plan was in the book, I take it? So may I have a motion? Okay. Ms. Mahaltzis, thank you. Second, Mr. Chu. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The work plan is approved. Would you introduce the transit safety plan, Colonel Warren?
Yep.
Can you talk about it?
I don't see it here. Okay. For those that may be new to this committee, the Federal Transportation Authority requires that each rail transit entity have its safety plan, annual safety plan, approved by the board. For New York City Transit, that includes the plans for the Department of Subways and for the Department of Buses. Since the FTA established the requirement a couple of years ago, we have asked you, as members of the Safety and Security Committee, to review and then recommend these plans to the full board for approval. These materials were sent to you and the entire board last week with executive summaries of the changes made this year in this year's plan. It is worth noting that the New York City Transit's Management Labor Safety Committee developed and approved these plans together. Chair, I ask that the committee approve these plans.
Before we move on to approval, I just invite Rich Davey, who participates in that Management Labor Joint Safety Committee, to talk a little bit about what's been accomplished.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So I think, as everyone knows, the bipartisan infrastructure law, the so-called bill that was established 2 years ago, also established a joint management labor safety committee, which I sat on for the first year of its inception. And, notwithstanding the fact that this committee and board approves the annual safety plan, I think, without much comment, the safety committee last year actually spent a fair amount of time going through the plans. Frankly, we had a lot of conversation about worker assaults and how we could have some preventative measures in there. And so last year, we made some substantive changes that this committee and board ultimately approved. This year, not as much because of the work that we put in last year. But as the chair mentioned, it's a three management members, 3 labor members, and this was both plans were unanimously approved a couple of weeks ago. So, behind the scenes and in the trenches, we're working closely with our partners in the TWU to find ways to focus on worker safety, obviously customer safety as well, but that's been a big focus of the work the last 2 years.
I just want to repeat something that you said in the Transit Committee and that I talked about with the press right now, which is, although we're working every day with our labor partners at the TW Local 100 and otherwise to optimize worker safety, we are not the only player in this equation. And as you noted, a particular concern is that so many of the people who have committed worker assaults, there are 6 this year, 4 arrests have been made, and of those 4 people arrested, together they have, I think, 49 priors. So we need to work together with labor. We always work with the PD, but at the end of the funnel is a criminal justice system that also needs to be a part of the solution, and we're really relying on the folks who run that to help us get some folks who may have a history of doing this kind of stuff out of the subway system one way or another. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Davey?
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay. Back to you, Colonel Warren.
All right, thanks. Statistics for the authority's safety metrics remain strong, highlighting the focus that each agency places on the topic. Accident and injury rates for both employees and customers are trending down and remain low. Of significance, the number of fires in the subway system had a marked reduction last year of over 22%, which is really pretty extraordinary, due to in large part to a very aggressive track cleaning performed by the maintenance away cleaning team. So my hat's off to them for that. Key safety and security metrics start on page 12 of the committee book. Regarding security, the MTA's focus remains unwavering, and not surprisingly, we'll see peaks and valleys regarding the number of major crimes conducted in the system. And most recently, and there's been a lot of talk about this just in the last couple hours, we saw a peak in January, followed by a reduction this month. Last year, we saw the average number of reported crimes drop below pre-pandemic levels, and together with our partners at the NYPD and MTA PD, we are confident we will achieve a similar result this year. Leadership from both state and city level continue to recognize the importance of sustained security in the MTA system and are resourcing it. Let me just highlight that, and this has again been said multiple times today, but I'll just say it again, that the investment in cameras and most recently the governor's support and resourcing cameras in the subway cars has proven just incredibly invaluable to what we're doing, and you heard about the arrests that were just made. But given the significance and importance of workplace violence, we wanted to readdress this again at this particular meeting, and because it's been in the news. Want to say that with workplace violence, it's sort of a three-legged stool, right? There's the first piece of it is deterrence, and we'll talk about some of the activities that are gone. Many of the activities, a huge amount of effort gone into trying to deter the ability of people to assault our employees. The second piece of the stool, second leg of the stool, is facilitating arrests and some of the work that's been done to make that happen. And then the last piece, and the part that we've heard a little bit more about today, is prosecution and the challenges there. Regarding the railroads, let me highlight that the MTA PD, led by Chief Mueller, continue to improve deployments to stations and their train patrols. If you were at the Joint Railroad Committee today, you would have heard that the PD, reinforced by feedback that they solicit from the railroads labor partners, from management, and the crews themselves, have increased their deployments, and importantly, increased deployments in problematic lines and at the best times of day. As part of this effort, they amended the way they conduct their patrols, and a little bit was discussed about that earlier today, and that basically they take the person who's causing the problem off the train to do that kind of interrogation of them, so to speak, and determine what's going on. That way they don't hold up the train and the rest of the customers as they try to get on with their business for the day, as well as a concerted effort going after folks that are repeat fare evaders on the system. And these individuals also cause our conductors a huge amount of anguish as they try to fight these guys almost to pay their bills. And so the police are heavily focused on that particular issue. The railroads are also promoting the use of workplace violence hotline, which provides a direct line for reporting incidents. Additionally, employee de-escalation training is ongoing. The railroads have rolled out conductor de-escalation training to over 17,000 of their conductors last year together, and they look to repeat that in 2024. And in just a few minutes, I'll talk about the topic of what we're doing with the criminal justice system. For our buses, our bus operators have significant public exposure and arguably the toughest job in the MTA. A part of the efforts to protect them during the pandemic, we installed partial barriers around the bus operator's position. These barriers make it more challenging for the public to interfere with our bus operators, but they do not totally protect them. Consequently, as previously identified, New York City Transit embarked on a study for the retrofit of buses with fully enclosed compartments, and they have prototypes built now, and you heard about this a little bit from President Davey at the last meeting, that they're built now. We're looking for to get the electronic mirrors approved by the government, and once we get that waiver in place, we can start testing those in the system, and that'll be a great assistance to protecting our bus operators. to provide further visible deterrence of our buses for assaults, crime, and fare evasion. New York City Transit continues to grow their special and inspectors. These are Eagle Team members, as was brought up earlier, and add more NYPD officers to their bus cluster security program. These agents and officers heighten security for our bus operators and customers while working to deter fare evasion. Feedback from bus operators is incredibly positive about this program. And most recently, the Department of Buses initiated a test of CCTV cameras and monitors on buses that display real-time images of the area around the driver's compartment and fare box for all in the bus to see. The idea here is to increase the rider's perception that they are being observed and thus temper any potential unruly behavior towards our bus operators. Regarding subways, New York City Transit has multiple efforts ongoing to mitigate the risk of violence to our employees. As mentioned, MTA continues to aggressively pursue the installation of cameras throughout the system. The subways is seeing the expansion of CCTV coverage everywhere, and especially in the subway cars, as was highlighted already this day. And they're moving very briskly to continue that and get it done by the end of the year. And these onboard systems are just a game changer. We heard from Chief Kemper today about that, and they're high quality, and they are really making a difference out there. Yeah.
You just spoke about on CCTV cameras in buses, which are showing on a screen, I guess, what's happening around the bus operator. Is that solely limited to the buses, or is that observed by anybody outside of the buses?
Right now, it's just totally observed on the bus. It's really hard to broadcast it outside of the system. Okay. In addition to helping identify suspects following incident, cameras are providing a deterrence effect just by their existence. To this point, together with our labor partners, we're preparing to install cameras, and you heard about this also earlier today, at our conductor positions, both on the trains and on the platforms. Also, we are about to test, and we saw some photos of it today, a new barrier system of ballards that are a no standing zone around our conductors on the platform. So subways is very engaged in trying to protect those conductors. Finally, I'll highlight that there is no greater deterrent to crime and rules violators than a uniformed police and security presence, and the MTA continues to strive to increase this presence. To this end, even with real fiscal challenges, Mayor Adams continues to support the NYPD's Transit Bureau with additional officers. We've heard today that the NYPD has 1,000 extra officers now authorized to put into the system daily, which is really making a difference. Further, New York City Transit continues to grow its successful Gate Guard program, providing enhanced security to our fare arrays and station booth agents. Now a bit about criminal prosecution of our employees for assaults. This slide points out mixed results among our agencies regarding improvement from the previous year. I'd like to draw your attention to how aggressively the police are pursuing the identification and arrest of assailants last year. For over a year now, the MTA has had a focused effort to monitor our employee assault cases and other egregious crimes conducted within our system, and ensuring that district attorney offices have the required information needed to pursue prosecution and are aware of special related transit rules, such as these are legal remedies, such as the fact that you can ban folks for assaulting our employees. This slide highlights some of the results of our efforts to support public safety, especially for our employees. Here you see 3 recent cases where district attorneys not only are pursuing prosecution, but achieved the application of bail requirements. This increases the likelihood that suspects will stand trial. Further, the application of bail requirement often keeps these assailants off our system and unable to harm our employees. Regarding prosecutions, we have seen increases with criminals held accountable for assaults against our employees. While we have yet to see assailants receive the maximum sentences for assaults on our system, the recent results indicate that assailants were held accountable and, as importantly, deterred from further assaults on our employees. So they're basically, by being being put into prison, even or banned, we're keeping them out of the system. Even with our focused efforts, we've not been able to totally be successful in deterring an assailant's ability to get back into our system and near our employees. This slide highlights recent assaults where suspects were dismissed. The cases were dismissed. The bottom two entries illustrate where recidivist assailants had their cases dismissed, and the chair just talked about it a minute ago and outside. You know, these criminals have multiple assaults on not only our workforce, and this is just our workforce, but also other people in the system. And when their cases get dismissed, it's pretty hard to understand how that's advancing public safety. Committee members, I will end with saying that the leadership of the MTA are passionate about deterring assaults on our employees and continue to pour resources into this protection. Chair, that concludes the presentation.
I mean, the stat that I think of is that last year we had, I think, 45 people were arrested for employee assaults, and only 11 have been indicted. That gives me concern. That, in combination with the statistics we're talking about recidivism, which is real, gives me concern about whether we're doing a great job through the whole ecosystem, from, you know, when something happens through the police investigation and the use of cameras, and then hopefully an arrest, but ultimately, are we keeping these people from doing stuff again and again and again? The absence of the shortage of indictments, even when there are arrests, gives me concern. And again, we're trying to convey, we don't hold ourselves out as criminal justice experts, but we are in the business of protecting our passengers and our employees. Mr. Brigham.
Well, the one thing that kind of struck me, and I agree with you 100%, is someone who went through the criminal justice system, slashed 2 of our employees and got no jail time, 5 years probation. That's outrageous. That is totally outrageous, and it's an indictment on our criminal justice system that they're not doing the right job.
And just to build on on Jerry's comment, you know, the criminal justice system at large will decide how they want to handle sentencing, but I think where we really have to send the messages, and we've had this conversation several times, about expanding and improving upon this ban, transit ban. We had one. It was great that it was used, it was exercised, but the fact that it doesn't come into effect until conviction and then sentencing, we had a robust conversation over sandwiches before that, that could take years. And we have recidivist actors that are just coming back, and this is only so much in our control, the agency's control.
Thank you. Others? Anyone? Ms. Lopez?
Kind of following up to what my colleague Sammy was mentioning, even if these cases are dismissed, could we still ban these individuals? And if we do ban, how do we enforce that?
So the criminal justice system must issue a ban. It has to be part of a sentence that's issued at the end of, whatever the prosecution process is, but that is on the books. It is available in some circumstances. And, we're doing our best to make sure that everybody in the criminal justice world understands that that is a law. It's available for attacks on any and all MTA employees at this point, because we pushed hard to make sure it applies to everybody. So that's something we're definitely highlighting. I'm going to move us along because I know B&T has a presentation that they want to do. So super important issue, but more discussion to follow. Bridges and tunnels.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As one of our most important safety indicators, traffic collisions on our bridges and tunnels continue to show a downward trend for the last 4 years, having reached the lowest point in 4 decades. As we continuously monitor these trends, we do so trying to identify causes and factors involved in all collisions. Importantly, we can say that most of these collisions are not very serious in nature. Mostly are rear and sideswipe types of collisions at low rates of speed, which can be attributed to driver inattentiveness. Moving to the next slide. As you can see in the chart in front of you, the trend has been that more impressive considering the significant increase in traffic volume over the past 4 years, having reached the highest level in recorded level for our traffic last year, having reached 920,000 crossings daily, which is a record for since we started tracking the traffic. So if we compare the 22 to 23, traffic volume was up by 2.7%, yet collisions were down by 11.4%. Another way to look at this is that there are about 3.5 collisions for every 1 million crossings a day, which is, again, 3.5 collisions for a day for at 9 facilities. To underscore, or this underscores the commitment of our enhancing customer safety and maintaining positive trends in minimizing roadway incidents. And that this could be attributed to 3 E's that we coined: engineering, education, and enforcement. If you look at engineering, our partnering with construction and development, whether it's short, medium, or long-term projects, improving permanent roadway configurations and line striping has been an important asset, important improvement in our roadway construction. As a matter of drivers tend to be creatures of habit, and having permanent roadway structures is very helpful. Education also has been an important segment of this improvement. Active signage, ways and other mapping, regional partnered with via Transcom, real-time information, alerting drivers about closures and roadway conditions has been very important to us. Lastly, enforcement. Highway patrols, which monitor, which are obviously to monitor our traffic, to monitor control, monitor our road conditions. Roadway presence is important. Traffic monitoring and assistance to motorists is important. Whether it's an incident, whether it's a broken vehicle or debris on the roadway, having removed and cleared the roadway is essential in having a safe passage. So all of this is to make it as pleasant and a safe environment for our motorists to cross our roadways. That concludes my report.
That's it, Chair.
Thank you. I'm told that somehow we need to take another vote to advance the work plan, safety plan to the full board. Can I have a motion? Mr. Chu, Ms. Mihaly says thank you for the second. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? Okay, the safety plan is advanced to the board. Is there any further business to be conducted? Super important material, and I thank everybody for participating today. Thanks.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn second. Everybody voted
Aye.
yes?
Yes.
Great. So it's adjourned.